herzlich willkommen hier in unserer Interview-Ecke beim Future Festivals. Neben mir sitzt Malle Kaas, sie ist aus Dänemark und deshalb wird dieses Gespräch auf Englisch geführt. Hello Malle Kaas, thank you so much for joining us here in our interview corner. I'm very pleased to have you here. So Malle Kaas is a sound engineer and co-founder of Women in Live-Music, which we will get into more detail about that later. But for now, I'd like to talk to you about your background and your journey in this industry, because your journey has been quite unique. You started off as an autodidact sound technician, but then switched paths into medicine and went into like nurse anesthetist. So how was it for you to get back into this industry after all those years?
Well, as you said, I started out as a sound tech, and I thought back then I would never ever be able to mix because I only saw the big guys doing it. And after some years, I was like, okay, I have to give up my dream mixing, so now I'll have a normal job. I'll be a nurse, and I became a nurse anesthetist. But then in 2012, somebody asked me, why are you not coming back to the live music industry? And I was like, okay, if I can keep people alive, I can also be mixing a show. So I taught myself how to mix, and I went to a lot of shows, and I got back into the industry again. I got mixing gigs, and I've been mixing ever since. But then the pandemic hit, and then I was still touring, but now with a different job. And after the lockdown, I just decided to keep both jobs. I'm freelancing both of them, so I just juggle between them.
Yeah. So you just mentioned that you are doing both jobs freelance. So how exactly do you plan it? Is it like more of a 50-50 thing, or do you do one more? And how do you keep that organized?
Well, the sound gigs are always freelancing, so that means that either I'll call up somebody or somebody will call me for a gig, and it's always temporary, so it will have an end. So if I'm in a period where I don't have any sound gigs because I prioritize that over nursing, well, then I'll just look for nursing gigs. I can get like gigs from day to day, so yeah.
And also what I wanted to know is, does one job, like does the nursing help you with the other job, or is it really like a switch to this job and then switch to that job, or is it like complementing each other in some way?
Yeah, I have to be really good at remembering what job I'm at. But it actually, I would say, the nurse anesthetist job, because I work in the emergency room or intensive care unit, where you often have to just be really calm and keep the overview, and that helped me a lot when I'm mixing. Because actually I would say mixing is sometimes more terrifying than trying to keep people alive. Because you have a lot of pressure on you. You have like the artists rely on you, the audience expect that you deliver. You have a management that might be standing, breathing you down the neck, expecting you to do the best, which you will do, of course, but there's a lot of pressure on it, and it's very often with, you know, like live gigs that shit happens, and then you just really need to stay calm and try and find a solution very quickly. So that's where my nursing job has definitely helped me in my mixing job. And the other way around, I mean, I'm really quick at finding solutions when I'm doing my nursing job, because that's what you do a lot in the live event industry. You have to like event stuff, you know, because you suddenly like in a situation, oh, I haven't tried this before, so I better figure out how to do it. So both jobs are really helping me a lot.
Yeah. That's very interesting, and I'd like to move on to something that I think you deal a lot with women in live music, and you've also like mentioned it before already with you've only seen big guys when you started off as a sound tech. So when it comes to the obstacles women face in this industry, from your perspective, what do you think are the main challenges they face?
The main challenges is what I call hidden harassment. There is a difference how women are being treated in comparison to men, and it's a society issue. So it's not like men's fault, the whole thing, but it is just like this, that, you know, when women are parallel parking, if they don't do it perfectly, they're not good at it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in the live industry. You know, if they're not 150% good at it, they might not be that good.
Yeah.
If it's a guy doing the same job, maybe not even that good. He's still being asked back. But if the woman is just doing like, if something is not going the right way, it would be like, that was because it was her. And then she will not be asked back. But where if it's a guy that whatever situation happens to, nobody will, pay any attention to. Nobody will make a big deal out of it. But if it's a woman, it would be pointed out, that gig didn't go that well.
Yeah.
And she will most likely not be asked back. That's a big challenge that we're meeting out there. But it's nobody's fault. It's just a society.
Yeah.
And with more women in the industry, we won't have those kind of situations, those kind of hidden harassment issues.
I think something that is like similar to that, or goes like, is basically something, an outcome of what you're just saying, is also something you talked about in your panel today, the imposter syndrome women feel when they go into this industry. They probably feel it in other industries as well. So maybe you can elaborate on that term, like what does it mean?
Well, imposter syndrome is when you actually have experience at something, you're actually good at it, but you're walking in to the gig thinking, I'm not supposed to be here. There's probably everybody else around me are probably way better than me. And what happens if I fuck up this? You have all these thoughts instead of like focusing on the job and remembering they hired you because they thought you can do this job, so you probably can. Why not test it out and put your focus into that? So it happens a lot to women especially because we stick out. If there are like 100 guys on a gig, there'll be like one woman. Everybody would know who that woman is. Everybody would pay attention to how she's doing it and can she do it. That puts a lot of pressure on somebody. And because women know that they only get that one chance, they don't want to screw up. So they come in and they're like often 3 times prepared, better prepared than the guy. But they also bring in all this anxiety because they know there are these expectations that are so high, and they also put a lot of pressure on themselves, which even increase the feeling of imposter syndrome.
How do you think the industry, but also women, how can they address this hidden harassment or this imposter syndrome and the biases that contribute to this issue? Well,
if you've been treated not in a respectful way on a gig, walk away or turn it down. It's not the end of the world. There's a lot of jobs out there. There's a lot of opportunities. So if one is not working out well, just leave it behind you. But I would say the best thing you can do as a woman, because get this, men also suffers from imposter syndrome. They're also having a hard time out there. But we stick out because of our looks. It's a little bit different for us. And also because of the hidden harassment and all that. But I mean, having a community, like Women in Live Music, it's not just for women, it's for everyone who feels a need of sometimes a little bit of support or motivation or inspiration. They're all welcome with us. And community is actually the thing that can get you back up on the horse if you had a tough gig. Because everybody will experience tough gigs. I'm mostly saying like 9 out of 10 gigs are not that great, but then I had that one gig that is super great, that I live on. So
what helped you, because you went away from this industry, or like you pursued medicine because you thought you should do something, a normal job, or not what you wanted to do from the beginning. So how did you overcome the fear of, or like, there are only big guys. How did you overcome this feeling and went back into this industry?
Well, in 2013, I actually got asked by my former employer from the States, Carrie Keys, this monitor engineer for Pearl Jam, and she called me up and said, look, I'm creating this community for female sound engineers. Do you want to be part of it? And there wasn't any communities for women working backstage back then. And this was one for like sound girls, like in broadcast and theater and so on. So it wasn't just for live music, but it still helped me to stay in the industry, because if I wouldn't have had that community, I would never have been here where I am today. A community means everything. Networking really means everything. You know, find some friends in the industry. That will make you stay.
Yeah. You were just talking about community, and I think that's a perfect way to get into women in live music, because I think one of your main things that you do is to create this community for women who want to start off in this industry. So I want to start in the beginning. What inspired you to start off, or like to co-found Women in Live Music?
Well, it was actually an event we did with Sound Girls, where we had the monitor engineer from Tori Amos. He's a guy who's worked with Tori Amos for 24 years. We had him come in to talk about obstacles that men are experiencing in this industry. And among the audience, there was this woman. She's a female backliner from the UK, and she was touring in France. And she often experienced that the local crew wouldn't communicate with her because she was a woman. And when I and my colleague, Hannah Broadwick, who was helping me out in Soundgirls, when we heard that story, we were thinking, hey, wait a minute, there is no community for women working backstage in production, logistics and technique and all of those areas. So how about we create one? So we created Women Live Music, which is only for Europe, because we want our members to meet each other, and we want to be able to meet our members, because again, this having a community and feel it is so important.
Yeah, totally. So how exactly does Women in Live Music support women practically, for those starting, but also for those already in the industry?
Well, we offer mentorship, and we have events where you can come and, like trade shows, a great place to come and meet like everybody else in the industry and connect with them. So we're doing a lot of networking, where we are introducing newcomers to the rest of the industry. We organize workshops where they can learn different skills, and we're hooking them up with each other, because it's a great thing to learn from each other and go out and explore this industry together. So it's about community networking, and optimizing and get introduced to different work skills in this industry. That's what we do for the newcomers.
Yeah, so I've also read something that I thought was very interesting, especially like women who have children, so mothers in the field, because touring and doing late hours can be very challenging, especially when there's a child involved. So how does Women in Live Music support those groups of people?
We can't really support them, but we can collect data on how things are. We did a report back in 2019 because we discovered that a lot of our colleagues who wanted kids were postponing having kids because they were saying, we can't combine motherhood with a career in the music industry. So we did an examination on that, and it turned out to be true that women were not having kids because they were working in the industry, or if they were having kids, they would hide their pregnancy, and they were afraid of not being asked back after having kids. Right now we're working on a new study about parenthood in the touring world, because we see that a lot of festivals and venues are not, they don't have the facilities for touring parents, and that goes for both those on stage and backstage. So we need to find some solutions so parents can still do their job in the live music industry and be parents at the same time, because right now this industry is not made for someone having kids.
Yeah, totally. Moving on to a little look into the future. What would you like to see, what change would you like to see in this industry regarding women, but also in general when it comes to live music?
Well, we just did a report on the well-being of female crew, and it actually says that the women feels that they see other women out there, which is great. And at the same time, they also report back that the working conditions are better, catering is better, just in general better conditions in the working environment out there. And so we're starting to see that, but it could definitely be better. You don't have to work yourself to death, and you don't have to be a superhero. Just enjoy your work. Not all this, people are so, You know, they are stressed out. A lot of people are burned out, having stress symptoms, etc. So we need to work on the working conditions, and but it's slowly coming.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we're coming to an end, but thank you so much for talking about your project. It's very impressive and very important. I think everyone agrees on that now. So thank you so much for coming here, for talking to me, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you for asking some really great questions.
Thank you.